But Lockwood hasn't always been this way. 2 years ago when he came to SIU, his diet consisted of a lot of fast food, and plus he weighed 360 pounds, prompting head coach Jerry Kill to say Lockwood wouldn't be allowed on the field unless things changed. Leader of the SIU Faculty Association says the bigger issue here is how the university handles its lower level administrators. And while there are some papers in the region that have made it to the web, there are some that haven't even made it online yet. Yes, these practices can be grueling for all players, but especially for the freshmen, because they are here longer than the rest of their teammates. Overlooking Cherokee Lake is Jerry Baird's pride and joy.
I go to extremes to keep it pure as Mother Earth.
And that purity starts with this.
I call it black gold. It's safer and it's recyclable. You don't throw nothing away. It's all recycled.
And he means that. Baird fills up gallon drums with the manure and heats it to 150 degrees to kill the bacteria.
Mix corn cobs, sugar maple wood chips, egg shells, fish carcasses through the hammer mill, and that's what I end up my organic fertilizer.
It's a long process. Before it is burnt, all the chicken scratch you see here stays in this tub for 2 years. But when the process is over, he's got tons to work with.
That's when you're saying you're getting down with Mother Earth and Mother Nature.
And when Baird really gets down is when he gets in his fields and spreads all the fertilizer out all by himself.
I mean, there ain't nobody, ain't no in between. It's me and the customer.
No middleman.
No middleman. All you got to do is side dress.
At 70 years old, he's not changing his ways anytime soon, but he does hope other farmers start doing things the old-fashioned way.
My goal is hope to see that stuff is grown like they did back in 1800 or like I'm growing it now. Oh my God.
In Bean Station, Tennessee, Max Orenstein, WVLT Volunteer TV News Night Watch. When the plane starts up, Stan Brock knows he will have to pay.
Doesn't matter how short the trip is.
Even if it's to Pikeville, Kentucky, Brock says just making that trip in a Cessna like this costs remote area medical more than $5.50 a gallon.
So it's a big bite out of our budget where we're trying to provide free medical care for people, and the biggest expense is the fuel to get there.
And wherever there is determines what airplanes or vehicles RAM will be using to get to the destination. And if it's using this DC-3 from World War II, it costs RAM big time, like $500 per hour.
Makes us really think hard before we go on an expedition as to how the best way is to get our equipment there.
It also can be a big expenditure for a flyer like Bobby Keeble. He's just getting back into flying and is looking forward to getting back up in the sky, but knows like in anything, there is a price to pay.
It gets expensive sometimes. You just gotta weigh out your options there and be careful about what you do.
At Island Home Airport, Max Orenstein, WVLT Volunteer TV News Night Watch.
You get used to them after a couple of years, but they never get any easier.
It's another practice for the SIU Salukis. And for this team, every second spent on the court counts.
3 hours where you got to be mentally locked in just as much as physically know what you're doing every single play.
Because once you start, there's not much stopping.
Anytime we can get a 30-second to a minute rest, we're going to take it. Some of the guys have learned some stalling techniques to wipe up the floor, just use a towel to get your hands dry.
I mean, honestly, some days you can't even walk after you get done, but it's tiring. You go through some stuff that you never think you have to, but it definitely pays off in the end.
And for some players, those payoffs come on game day.
Games are when we get to have fun and get to show how hard we've been working, and you don't get as tired as in games or anything like that, but the practices is what prepares us for the games.
Yes, these practices can be grueling for all players, but especially for the freshmen, because they're here longer than the rest of their teammates. Carlton Fay is just getting used to the rough and tough ways of Floor Burn U.
Yeah, that's something I promise you I've never done anything like this before.
On top of 3 hours of regular practice, the freshman must stay after to work on his technique, which can be just downright exhausting.
It's pretty tough. I will say, usually head back to the dorms and, lay down for a good couple hours and get a good night rest and, get ready to do it again tomorrow.
Max Orenstein, Saluki Sports View.